everybody, to Wager Talk Today. I am Lawrence Presman. I am free of the stinking Toronto Maple Leafs. We got a great show. It's Wager Talk Today. Bryan Leonard will be joining us right off the top. He's going to look at two baseball games. LA Angels against Pittsburgh. The Mets against St. Louis. Adam Trigger after that. He's got two baseball games. He's going to be looking at the Giants game and the Royals game. Andrew McInnis with one NBA and one NHL. And Theodore Kowarewski. What do you got going in your big game breakdown?
We're going to talk about the Pacers and the Knicks. Game 1 NBA playoff action tonight. And also we'll talk a little Kentucky Derby when it comes to what bettors learned, why the favorites never seem to win.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear about the Kentucky Derby, Teddy. I got to be honest. Nothing warms my cockles more than the Kentucky Derby. So let's get on with it. Bryan Leonard joining us right off the bat. Big, beautiful Bryan Leonard. How are you, my friend?
Good. And the only thing that compete with horse racing stories is poker stories. And you can do both of them once I leave the show, please.
Well, there will be no poker stories today, Bri, but we are going to discuss Bon Jovi a little later on in the show, so stay with us.
Good.
You know what, Bri? We're going to discuss it right in the middle of your segment.
God, damn it.
LA Angels plus 140 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. How do we bet this game?
I just can't trust the Pirates to lay this type of number the way they're playing. The offense has been nearly non-existent as of late. In fact, if you take a look at the season, Pittsburgh has a WRC plus of 85, which is 15% worse than league average. Mitch Keller has not been good since the All-Star break last year. Every time he looks like he's going to break out, he takes two steps back. In his career, he's 27-41 with a 4.74 ERA, 1.45 WHIP. Even without going into the advanced statistics, he simply has never lived up to the hype. He's the guy right now with the starters that the Pirates have in the minors. Obviously, Paul Skeens on his way up. It would not surprise me if he won't finish the season in this rotation. They've got a lot of younger guys who are just simply panning out better than he has. Tyler Anderson's going for the Angels here. Same pitcher who went 15-5 with a 2.57 ERA just 2 seasons ago. He's doing even better so far this season. 6 starts. His pitching run value is in the 93rd percentile, according to Baseball Savant. Give us the Angels here. I know they're without their big-name player offensively, but this is still a team that is a better offense than the Pittsburgh Pirates are, and you're getting them at plus 140 here. I'll take the Angels.
So I'm with you on not wanting to lay a price with the Pirates. No problem with that. And considering Pittsburgh's been an awful favorite this year. I think they're 4-9 when laying minus 110 or higher. They just haven't been good in this role. The question is, are the Angels a team that we actually want our money on right now? LA, when Trout got hurt, I was shocked at the offensive production. For about a week, they went 6-1 to the over. They scored 5 or more runs in all 6 of those overs. And then now we've seen reality start to set in. 3 of the last 4 games, they've been held to a single run or less. Can we trust the Angels? This is a 12-22 team playing without their best player. Can we trust them to do anything? Because I'm with you on not wanting Pittsburgh in this price range, but I didn't want LA either.
Well, playing without their best player is something that they have done for the last decade, as it seems like every year he gets hurt, and they are missing, obviously. Ohtani's no longer on the team. But early on in the season, Ward and Trout were the 2 hottest bats, and they weren't going to continue on like that. In fact, about a week or 2 before Trout got hurt, he went into a slump. So they're not missing a whole lot right now. This is a team, the Angels, nobody cares about the Angels. Nobody's going to be going out and betting them. If you're going to be betting any LA team, it's going to be on the Dodgers. So I think we get value here. And Pittsburgh's a team that has a lot of good young players, but they're not panning out. I mean, Cruz missed last season. He was supposed to be their phenomenal guy at shortstop for the next decade or so. he's not hitting well. Pittsburgh's had problems in their bullpen. The closer hasn't been good. There's really nothing for the Pirates right now in which to back them. I understand the Angels don't have a lot either, but in baseball, as opposed to the other sports, hockey also is included. You could lose 100 games on a season and still win 62, and that could make you money if you're playing them as an underdog price. I mean, coming into the season, the last couple of years, everybody's been talking about the Oakland A's. Going into yesterday, Oakland was a 500 ball club. If you bet Oakland every game this year, you made a lot of money. And the same way with, and I got to admit it again, Teddy, the Washington Nationals, a team that I used as the over on the season, they were only like a game or two below 500. So you can make money on bad teams in baseball. I wouldn't recommend it in some of the other sports, in football and in basketball as much, but in luck factor teams and games like hockey and baseball, playing the underdogs is a good way to make money.
Bryan Leonard joining us, everyone. Bryan, let's before we get into the Mets St. Louis game, what do you got going with the clients today?
I actually am passing today. These are my two best plays in baseball. I do have a 5% in the NBA. It doesn't go today, it goes tomorrow. But I've got that up a 5% in the NBA, and that's all I have to promote on today's card. It's a weaker card today. I do like both these plays, just not quite strong enough to release them to clients.
Bryan Leonard, the Mets, St. Louis. You are betting this game in the first 5. I want to hear who you're betting and also why the first 5, and is that a regular occurrence with you?
It is not a regular occurrence because usually if I'm playing a favorite in a game, I want the game to go 9 innings. We've seen it so many times where a team that's a better team will struggle early, and then as they get into the bullpen of the opposing team, they can get those runs. I will get into the reason why we're going to first 5 in just a minute. I do want to point out that the Nets have broken out of their early slump offensively, and while they're still waiting for this Cardinals bats to produce, this Cardinals team, they got to be totally upset in St. Louis at this point. This is not going the way they planned it. On the season, the Mets have a WRC plus of 102, while St. Louis comes at 83. Keep in mind, league average is 100. So the Mets are slightly above. Even though they started the season very poorly offensively, they are a better offensive team than St. Louis is right now. Sean Manaea takes the hill for the visitor. He's been a valuable arm for the Mets the last couple of seasons. Made 16 starts and also coming out of the pen the last 2 years. He's worked out very well for them, long relief, short relief, and starting. So he's done very well. But this year, all of his 6 appearances have been as a starting pitcher. He's got a solid 3.07 ERA. Now, he still has a 143 whip, which is a concern because he's got a 14.1 based on ball percentage. But his career is 6.7% for the walk rate, so I expect that to come down. Getting back to the Cardinals, we'll start journeyman Kyle Gibson. One of 3 veteran starters the Cardinals brought in this season, along with Sonny Gray and Lance Lynn. And surprisingly, everybody got all upset that they brought in these veteran starters. But surprisingly, all 3 of these arms have gotten off to a pretty nice start, especially Gray, who's just been terrific. But Gibson has a career 4.53 ERA, so you know what you're going to get out of him in the long run. He's a 12-year veteran. He's a guy that's a 4 or 5 starter for most teams, and in fact, a lot of teams he wouldn't even be starting at this point of his career. The reason why I used the first 5 is the Mets bullpen threw 78 pitches yesterday, including 19 from Edwin Diaz, the closer. So I want to take out the back end of the Mets bullpen here and just go for the starters. That's why I'm using the 5 innings. I like Manaea. I like him better than I like the starter for the Cardinals and Kyle Gibson. So let's take the Mets going off the starting pitcher advantage, play them in the first 5 at plus 100. And I think we got a winner here. Is the St. Louis team, from a hitting standpoint, they've got some quality hitters on this team, but none of them have broken out this year, not playing well offensively. Major concerns for St. Louis Cardinals fans right now.
So, again, I'm with you conceptually on the Cardinals not being a team that I want my money on. They're certainly, we think of St. Louis as being a consistent contender in the NL Central, and they're not. They weren't last year. They're not this year. But Kyle Gibson won 15 games for a 100-win team last year. He's thrown 3 back-to-back dominant starts where he's blown away. One run each time. 4 of his 6 starts this year, and eating innings, 6 innings, 7 innings. What's the anti-Gibson here? I'm not feeling that part of the equation. I'm feeling all the rest of it. But Gibson, to me, is much more bet on than bet against right now, isn't he?
If he won 15 games for a team that won 100 games last year, why isn't he still on that team? There's a reason why he plays for so many different teams as his career goes on. If you take a look at his Savant page, his pitching run value is 49. His fastball run value is 15. Those are the percentiles. If you were to rate his fastball in Major League Baseball, his percentile on his fastball is 15. That's bad. Now, he doesn't have a good off-speed run value, but if you take a look at his xERA, it's in the 12%. His expected batting average, 22%. Fastball velocity, 13%. Barrel rate, major concern, 11%. So we've got a guy here that can be hit, and he can be hit hard. And I'm not going to look at a small sample size when we got a guy who's been around for 12 years, and we could take a look at that. His hard hit percentage this year is at 41.7. Last year, 44.5. His career is 37.9. So he's at the end of his career here, and just by putting together a few decent starts is not going to get me to back him.
Bryan Leonard, thank you for joining us, my friend. Best of luck today and tomorrow on your 5% play. Teddy covers. What did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
What did we have? We had a record set for the Kentucky Derby legal wagering, $210 million on Saturday. It really is an iconic sporting event. And this year it was a legitimately iconic race. It couldn't have been more exciting. It is truly the most exciting 2 minutes in sports when you have 3 horses coming down the stretch and one of them wins by a nose. So what happened when all was said and done? The smoke clears. Mystic Dan, 18-1 cashed in. That is the 6th year in a row that an 8-1 or longer shot has won the Kentucky Derby. 0 favorites during that span. And what we have? Sierra Leone by a nose, one of the chalk. Forever Young, a horse we talked about on there, by another nose back in 3rd. So certainly it wasn't like Mystic Dan won by a huge margin. But the question is, why are we seeing all of these long shots? Mage last year, 15-1. Charismatic, 31-1. Giacomo, 50-1. Mind That Bird, 50-1. Country House, 65-1. Rich Strike, 80-1. This is all in the last 25 years. All right. The last 6 derbies now, again, 8-1 or longer shot wins and no favorites. So what did Dave Sherapan come on the show and always say? He goes, nobody knows squadouche. When it comes to the chalk, why does this happen? 2 reasons. 1, you got a 20-horse field. In a 20-horse field, random things are going to happen. A smaller field, Mystic Dan doesn't win. Mystic Dan was able to win because he was able to slide into the post because there were so many horses banging into each other in the middle. So the 20-horse field absolutely is a randomizer. And the other thing that's going to happen is that when we're talking about 3-year-old colts, all right, who've only run a handful of races, they get better, they get worse. It's like trying to pick rookies in the NFL or in the NBA. Some of them work out really well. Some of them get better and better. Some of them don't. That's what you're betting on. You're betting on a bunch of rookies. Essentially, in the Derby, no shock that a long shot won again this year. And I'll just leave it at this. Friends don't let friends bet the chalk in the Derby. That's what I learned this weekend. Lawrence, back to you, my friend.
Teddy, one of our listeners, Tyrone Boyd, writes, Prez, you should retire. You don't like horse racing. Teddy,
okay.
You should retire. You don't like ice cream. I don't like horse racing. I don't understand. Like a bunch of animals being whipped while they run down a track for absolutely no reason. I don't get it. But hey, I'm a sports bettor. Horse racing is not even a sport. It's like an activity amongst animals that run around a track in a circle. Not for me. But if you really want me to retire, I'm not. Teddy, before we bring in our next guest, I watched the Bon Jovi documentary. It's 4 episodes. And full disclosure, I was never a Bon Jovi man. That's not my kind of music. My kind of music is like Pink Floyd, Grateful Dead, Skinner, and Allman Brothers, even obscure bands like Disco Biscuits, Humphrey McGee, like any of those
Nobody
jam
cares.
bands. I don't care if you care. Do you understand that? And the more you interrupt me,
Lawrence, what I really want to hear is a list of your
go.
favorite bands, and especially the obscure ones. If you could just, just give me a long list of obscure bands you like. That's what you want to hear.
Well, no.
I'm
so
joking.
Anyway,
tell the freaking Bon Jovi story.
Anyway, I just want everyone to know this. The Bon Jovi documentary, I think it's on Disney Plus, is spectacular. And I had no idea that this band had the amount of freaking hits that they have had. I think you would be hard pressed to name me 3 bands in history that have more anthems, not necessarily hits, but anthems like Bad Medicine, Wanted Dead or Alive. What's that? What was the song we were singing before?
I'm certainly not going to sing it now, and you're
Dan,
embarrassing yourself more and more as you go on.
Dan,
don't talk anything. Look, Bon Jovi was lame. All right,
no,
Bon Jovi was someone we made fun of. Bon Jovi was never cool. Bon Jovi was a freaking loser, some Jersey from loser who thought he was so pretty, and we all made fun of him. Dude, that's Bon Jovi. So the fact that he gets a 4-part documentary, you're telling us it's good?
Dan, get rid of him.
He's a joke.
Dan, get rid of him.
He's a joke.
If you think Bon Jovi is a loser, let me be a loser. The guy's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He's written epic masterpieces that will stand the test of time, whether you like them or I like them. I don't like them. You don't like them. I don't like Mozart. He stood the test of time. I don't like Rihanna. She's like the 7th most selling artist of all time. We were wrong, Teddy, and I would like to humbly apologize to Bon Jovi. I was wrong. I didn't like your music. I laughed at your hairdo. I thought you dressed like an idiot. But 40 years later, I am floored at the amount of hits that you've had. And you guys come epic masterpieces. That's what they are. They are anthems, Teddy. Anthems. Literally, the dude wrote anthems. Anyway, you know what we are, Teddy? We're halfway there. Oh, living on a prayer. Take my hand and give it, I swear.
For the love of God, Adam Trigger, please join this show.
Tokyo Brandon.
I don't know how to follow that.
I
don't know how to follow that up. Brandon would have sang with you. Tokyo Brandon used to sing on our
is
show
in
on
the
a
chat
weekly
room
basis.
going, if they aren't Kiss, they suck. So, yeah. Brandon, go right down. Bon Jovi has 100 more hits than that stupid band Kiss. Adam. So, you a Bon Jovi fan?
No, but I have seen him in concert before.
So did I.
They're like everyone's mom's favorite band, kind of. So like we took my mom to see Bon Jovi probably 15 years ago now. Maybe probably about 15 years ago at Foxborough. I mean, it was a good show.
2013.
I will say this, Prez, I was surprised at how many songs I knew. Like not really being a fan. I was surprised at how many songs I knew.
Yeah,
it was fun.
It's crazy. Anyway, brother, let's get into it because Teddy's getting sick right now. There's vermouth inside of his mouth. The Giants plus 1.5. Tell us why.
Yeah, so I guess the why would start with the fact that you typically don't get respectable teams like the Giants in the plus 1.5 role at this price unless you're willing to, step in when they've lost a couple or oppose a team like the Phillies who are red hot. 16-3 in their last 19 games. I'm coming back off of playing against the Phillies last night with the Giants. I felt like was a little bit unfortunate in that game. It was basically a Bryce Harper 3-run homer. I mean, the Phillies didn't really hit much the rest of the game. Giants made like 3 errors, ended up losing the game 5-4. Couldn't get a runner home in the 8th inning. Third base, less than 2 outs. So I just felt like it was a little bit, tough to be on the wrong side of that. And now, because it's the 4th game of a 4-game set, the Phillies have won the first 3. You're getting the Giants at getting the road team plus 1.5 at this price is pretty, that's solid value with a team like the Giants, because of course the road team, you're kind of getting the extra at bat there. And the Phillies now, not only do they have to win, they're going to have to win it by 2 or more. Another thing that can cool an offense off, like the Phillies, who are just red hot right now, is a complete unknown. And that's what they're going to face today with Mason Black. He's going to make his major league debut in this game. And he really is an unknown because he's played his minor league ball out in the PCL. The Phillies minor leaguers or their youngsters would have been in the International League. So no one in this lineup has seen him at all. And he's a guy that I have had circled for, when they got called up to play on. Now, there's only a handful of guys at the AAA level. Bryan, Leonard referenced one earlier, and Paul Skeens. And the other one I kind of had circled with the really above average stuff was Christian Scott, who came up on Saturday, pitched into the 7th inning, 5 hits, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk in his major league debut for the Mets. So, Mason Black, his ERA is 1 at AAA in 6 starts this year. Good fastball slider combo, and I really just think he's one of the handful of guys in AAA right now that has the stuff that I think could really, keep a MLB lineup off balance, maybe for a couple of starts until there's a little bit of a book on him. And it's also a pretty cool moment for him. He's from Scranton. He has the single season strikeout record at Lehigh. So to get to make his major league debut in Philly, probably a million friends and family, maybe a little bit